This video is brought to you by Ridge. Stick around to hear more about the discount they're providing to the entire upper echelon community. Okay, today I will be discussing what is genuinely, not a joke, the dumbest physical sale I have ever seen in my lifetime. Brace yourself. This is a story about crypto investors. It's a story about decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. It's a story about Dune, yes, the 1965 Frank Herbert masterpiece that was recently adapted by Denis Villeneuve into a modern Hollywood film. And it's a story about the multi-million-dollar cult phenomenon spin-off of Dune, where Salvador Dali and Mick Jagger, among others, were going to be actors in the film in a 14-hour depiction of the property. Salvador Dali was allegedly going to be paid over $100,000 per minute for his appearance. This is the story of the most ridiculous purchase I have ever seen, and it is just prime-time entertainment, so let's begin. It all starts with the Spice DAO. The Spice DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization of crypto investors and sci-fi enthusiasts. Having cycled through a number of different collective names, they are basically known as a group of investors who want to, in their own words, govern a digital asset index hub with decentralized blockchain protocols. In the most basic language possible, it's an investment fund where everyone gets a say and everyone can propose ideas. I'm going to link a bunch of different articles and assets down below in the description this time for those that want to know more, but one point in particular from a Medium article appearing to originate from Spice DAO official, quote, "Proposals must be operationally, technically, and legally feasible to implement." Just keep that in mind. So what even happened? What did they buy? Why did they do it? And what's going to happen as a result? The Spice DAO decided, after a member proposed the idea to their collective, that they were going to purchase a rare book called Jodorowsky's Dune. Now, this is tricky because a lot of people seem to be unaware of what that actually means. Jodorowsky's Dune is not actually a book, it's more of a manuscript from the 1970s. In 1971, a film company called Appjack International, also known as APJ, purchased a license to write and shoot some sort of Dune adaptation based on the 1965 novel by Frank Herbert. Well, in 1974, the lead producer behind APJ died, and this resulted in the rights for that film being purchased by a French consortium, ultimately handed to Alejandro Jodorowsky as lead director. Jodorowsky decided to go all out completely on the film and created a pitch deck of sorts to put on display for major publishers. This manuscript, the early storyboards, the concept art, and the script itself, was the size of basically a phone book. It would have been 14 hours long. It had Salvador Dali being paid ridiculous amounts of money to just appear on screen, I think it was. It was chock full of celebrities. Pink Floyd was going to be the band behind it, and even Jodorowsky's own son was set to play as Paul Atreides, who was the main character. Needless to say, the film didn't get made. It's actually often referred to as the most expensive or most ambitious film that never was, or something like that. For 100 separate reasons, most of them budget-related, nearly all of the major publishers decided to pass, and even when finding a speculative partner, these 20 or so early edition proposal copies became a collector's item when the project just completely fell through. I'm not sure how or why, but Jodorowsky's Dune became a sort of cult sci-fi phenomenon. Frank Herbert himself even collaborated on the project when it was operational, and eventually, when things had stalled out completely, film rights were purchased by Dino De Laurentiis. That led to the 1984 adaptation directed by David Lynch, and from there, the franchise went dark for a pretty lengthy amount of time. What's important here is the 20 or so-ish prototype copies that were used to pitch investors and publishers. Jodorowsky's Dune was a massive, famous, now, eccentric piece of entertainment history, and it was also exceptionally rare. Okay, time for today's video sponsor, which is Ridge. Ridge is best known, of course, for their sleek, minimalist wallets, but recently they have also acquired a bunch of new high-quality products to choose from. There are pens, knives, bottle openers, backpacks, phone cases, you name it. There's carbon fiber, Damascus steel, even gold-plated versions for their wallet, and all of it is made with top-notch materials. You can choose between a clip and a strap with room for 12 cards plus cash in that clip, or the strap, you can swap them out at will, and generally speaking, they're the best wallet I've ever owned. Quality matters, and Ridge has the highest quality possible. If you want to test that out for yourself, they offer a free 30-day trial, and if it's not for you, you can send it back. Again, the right wallet is an important purchase, and Ridge brings you a minimalist version with superior construction. If you use the link down below and code UEG, you can get 10% off your entire order. Again, link down below in the description, code UEG for 10% off your order. Big thank you to Ridge for sponsoring the channel. Now for a bit of non-linear storytelling. In 2021, November to be exact, one of the copies of Jodorowsky's Dune hit the market. An auction became available for copy number 5, or they thought it was copy number 5, which expert appraisers had pegged as a roughly $30,000 item, or so they thought. The Spice DAO, named after the spice from Dune itself, by the way, bolstered by a member named Soban Saqib, I believe, who fronted the money, decided to enter that auction, eventually offering the winning bid of 2.66 million euros, a little over $3 million US. Also, I have no idea who they were bidding against to even get that figure so high, but I really hope they didn't just bid against themselves or just make a stupidly high offer right off the bat, not understanding what an auction is. It wouldn't surprise me, but I hope that's not what happened. Now, the Spice had actually requested over 6 million euros from its members because they didn't want to just buy the novel, they wanted to then make an animated series out of it. After successfully winning that auction, they took to Twitter and posted the following. Quote, "We won the auction for 2.66 million. Now our mission is to 1. Make the book public to the extent permitted by law." They actually wrote that. 2. Produce an original animated limited series inspired by the book and sell it to a streaming service. And 3. Support derivative projects from the community. End quote. This is where things just completely fall apart. Goal number 1 is to make the book public. Jodorowsky's Dune is a highly sought after, exceptionally rare piece of fandom culture, and this benevolent organization was going to make it so that everyone can see it. Early ideas involved regular viewing showcases or public ones, and other forms of community accessibility. Just to say the very least, they had grand ideas, but apparently none of them know how to use Google. Jodorowsky's Dune is fully and completely available on Google Photos. It has been scanned and distributed for years. There is also a comprehensive and detailed version of the script for this movie available on many different platforms, which meant that their first major reason for buying this book and spending $3 million on it was completely bust. Reason number 2 was an animated series inspired by the story, and this limited series was going to be sold to a streaming service. Okay, they also raised over $2 million for that part, so maybe it can work. Well, in order to make a limited series and then sell it to the likes of Netflix or HBO, you have to own the rights. After 1984, Dune effectively went into kind of hibernation. There was a miniseries in 2000, sometime later, on the Sci-Fi Channel, and then in 2008, Paramount Pictures announced an adaptation after Kevin Mishner worked tirelessly to secure the rights from the Herbert estate, but that eventually fell apart completely. Then, in 2016, Legendary Entertainment acquired the rights and greenlit the film that we know of most recently from director Denis Villeneuve, and this film, at least part 1, eventually released in 2021, was distributed by Warner Brothers, which meant that Legendary Entertainment and Warner Brothers were in possession of the license and distribution rights for the Dune property, with plans for a second part of that movie, which is where we find ourselves today. When it comes to Dune, the Spice DAO does not have the rights to produce or distribute an animated series, and Warner Brothers are some of the most aggressive copyright hunters online, period. I speak from experience here. They do not allow anyone to use their property without trying to get a chunk. And even 10 seconds, actually I think it was 4 seconds at one point, of a Joker trailer got me manually claimed multiple times on YouTube. The Spice is attempting to create a limited series out of IP that they don't own, halfway through the process when a pair of major entertainment publishers are producing their own, legally licensed Dune property. But, and this is really important because I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, the intricacies of this situation are actually far more, like, don't start typing that yet. It's actually not that simple. One of the first things that these crypto enthusiasts will say about the situation is, well, it's Jodorowsky's Dune, not Frank Herbert's Dune, which is kind of true, because Jodorowsky took significant creative liberties with the story. The manuscript itself is effectively a sort of hybrid. Much of it is based directly on the Herbert estate's copyright, but a large chunk of it is actually pretty unique and is now commonly referred to as the Incal after Jodorowsky used it as the basis for his own comic series. I don't know if you're following, but basically the book has 2 parts. One is unique, one is not unique. They don't own the Dune part, and then the part that was unique got turned into a comic series or its own universe called the Incal, and yeah, that's a separate thing. This might have led the crypto fanatics to start thinking, well, we bought the book and it's not actually Dune, so if we base the series on the parts that aren't Dune, then maybe we can get away with it. But not even that would work, because the rights for the Incal were actually just recently sold to Taika Waititi earlier in 2021. There is no conceivable way that the multi-million-dollar purchase of this book will allow them to create an animated series or sell it to a major streaming platform. Strike number 2. Strike 3 is an easy one because their final goal of supporting derivative works from the community is an obvious blunder when your own source material itself is either a derivative work of property you don't own or is unique property that you don't own because the comprehensive rights in terms of film and TV production/distribution just got sold to an actual company in that same year. So they're 3 for 3. But we're not done. The Spice DAO obviously didn't think any of this through and were flying high on the wings of their NFT fortunes and crypto millions. Who cares about copyright and legal ramifications when you can just say blockchain 5 times in a mirror and summon the financial equivalent of Candyman? They decided, and this is not a joke, as far as I can tell this is real, they decided since we can't really do anything at all with this book now, let's make NFTs of every single page and then burn it. They legitimately want to make NFT scans and then burn the original copy when the book has existed on Google Photos for years, after failing to realize that buying a physical book at 100 times its actual estimated value doesn't give you the copyright to reproduce the story. Also, so much for community accessibility and public viewing parties. That went out the window pretty damn quick. It's like if I bought a copy of Harry Potter and then tried to make a Harry Potter TV show. The whole thing is absurd. So NFTs, I'm going to be serious now. NFTs of every single page, then burn the original. Sounds good in the mind of a crypto investor at least. But hang on. In 1988, there was a curious legal case involving a company known as Albuquerque Art, or ART for short, who printed, mounted, and distributed the individual pages of a book by Patrick Nagel. They would basically put each page on a ceramic tile and then sell it. That was their kind of whole business model. The thing is, they didn't own the copyright for these books that they would do this to because that remained with Nagel's widow, in this particular case, Jennifer Dumas, and a company called Mirage Entertainment. These ceramic tiles, each with a unique page of the book, are in some ways easily comparable to NFTs, and the Ninth Circuit Court ruled against Albuquerque Art, classifying these tiles as infringing derivative works. The Spice DAO is going to take individual pages of a book that they don't own the rights for and scan them to be sold as NFTs. Albuquerque Art took individual pages of a book they didn't own the rights for and sold them in physical form, which resulted in a ruling against them. So what do we think is going to happen to this distributed organization when Warner Brothers or Legendary or whatever corporate entity is behind Taika Waititi right now, when that decides to come after them? Also, adding this in after the fact because I forgot and then just remembered when I was actually reading it off, one of the members of this DAO said, I'm pretty sure, quote, we can't just scan it and put it up on the internet. And that was some guy going by the name of Fang. But they're going to scan it and put it on the internet as NFTs, though. The Spice DAO purchased a book that was appraised at $30,000 to $40,000, closer to 30 actually, for 100 times its actual cost. They bought this book with some kind of misguided notion that they would either A, bring the copy to the public because the public didn't already have it, false, literally anyone with an internet connection who wants to see it has been able to for years, B, create an animated series from it, false, they don't own the copyright for even a partial section of the book, let alone have the ground to produce that kind of commercial work and then sell it to a major streaming platform. C, support derivative projects by the community. False, obviously, you can't support derivative work of a derivative work that you don't even own in the first place. Or D, I guess, make NFTs of the book and then burn it. Most likely false, as per existing comparable case law, this is not a permissible practice. 4 strikes. This is the dumbest physical purchase I've seen in my lifetime. If there's one that's better, I just can't think of it right now because this one transcends the typical boundaries of logic. But the best part is how their official rules say, quote, proposals must be operationally, technically, and legally feasible to implement. I legitimately could not stop laughing when I researched this whole thing. I genuinely did not believe that they could be this dumb, but here we are. That's it. Jodorowsky's Dune is now a $3 million paperweight that they're probably going to burn because the Spice DAO can do virtually nothing with it after thinking that this purchase would somehow let them do everything with it. I do hope that the crypto space learns how to do basic research and understand basic law before spending millions of dollars at a time, but today was not that day. If you want to support, there are links down below, primarily Patreon or locals. I'm trying to use those as the channel income from here on out, not ads. Also, a YouTube alternative called Odyssey, another creator to check out. merchandise, social media, Ridge, of course, for a discount on quality products and especially wallets, and a few more things, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.